So Dan, let me jump in with our first question for you. You have 30 plus years of accomplished leadership experience, from local banking all the way up to global enterprise solutions like IBM and Lotus. That puts you in the upper echelon of most culture leaders. What's the key to your success? What do you attribute to the work that you've done and the quality that you've achieved?
Well, I don't know if I'm in the upper echelon, but I feel like I've done a lot in my career, and I've been very fortunate, extremely fortunate to learn early on from some of the biggest companies in technology that provided some really in-depth training, coaching, all the things that you would want and may not be able to receive in today's world compared to what it was 30 plus years ago. I think I'm a fairly quick study, but I'm also more than willing to be critiqued in any format, including some of the original sales training I went through where they would video film you role playing and then play it back in front of an audience. That can definitely test your ego. But if you're open to the feedback and the constructive critiquing, it's only going to make you better.
Absolutely. Well, and throughout your career, Dan, you've experienced, let's call them legacy workplace cultures that were perhaps more rigid than those that were and are wholly inclusive and innovative and creative, maybe. So, what positive traits did those cultures have in common?
Well, you're right. I did, and I'm sure you guys did too, grow up in an era where you wore a suit and tie to work 5 days a week, and you thought getting out early was at 4 o'clock on a Friday if you left the office, right? So, and I know it sounds like I walked uphill to school both ways, that adage, but there definitely was a different expectation of you from an accountability timing standpoint. I'm not saying people aren't accountable today and don't deliver on that accountability on a regular basis, but it was very rigid. That is exactly the word. Very professional, not just in the way you dressed, the way you conducted yourself. And I think a lot of that can cross over to today's work environment. You could argue that you have to be even more disciplined today because you have way more freedom than you ever did back then. You were pretty much told to be in an office 5 days a week, unless you were out calling on clients, but then back in that office the next day or the day after. So in the hybrid remote world we live in, it's probably a lot easier to get distracted than it was back then.
Is there I know that you've had experience with looking to, as you go into organizations, serving as what could be an interim CEO, longer term CEO, but you kind of inherit what you inherit. Have you found that your more innovative organizations have a wider range of ages and experience, or vice versa, or other end of the spectrum? Are the more innovative ones those with, maybe not crusty old white guys like Mark and me, but is there a pattern to when you see the most productive, creative, innovative cultures? What makes up those cultures? Who's in those cultures?
Yeah, it's a great question. I learned early on when I was offered an opportunity to be an expat with Lotus over in the UK in my late 20s, where I was the only American in an office of 130 people. And well, the MD was at that time, but everybody else was European. That taught me way more than an MBA would, quite frankly, those few years I was there. And one of the things about tech that I really find incredibly appealing and have even used as an example that the world would be a better place if everybody had spent a few years in tech, because you're constantly engaging with people from diverse cultures. Diversity in tech means different countries, different languages, not just the color of your skin or whether you're a male or a female. It is all over the world, and we get along. We learn from each other, and even the people that are not from the U.S. but are residing here, as well as obviously bringing the Europeans into the fold, bringing the APAC region. And every company that I've run, I've actually helped open up international with people that I knew from previous lives, whether that's Sydney or Singapore, London or Munich. So it definitely allowed me to be a much more open-minded and thoughtful person, because tech just draws some really interesting personalities and people. They're all smart. We know that most, if not all, smarter than me. But the ability to get along and appreciate their perspective because of where they were raised and brought up.